What's going on?
Oh,
Uh,
man, life is meaningless and temporary, and we all just dust in the winds, crumbs of baguettes floating into the ocean. But it is good. It is good to see you, my friend.
oh, it is good to see you as well, my friend. My goodness, what a start. Oh,
Today
I
we're
love that.
talking about Expedition 33. This was basically the perfect creation for me. I'm actually one part in love with it, and one part actually, no joke, afraid that there will never be a creation as good of a fit for me the rest of my life. This was a big, strong, the Baroque element and the things that mean a lot to me. But real quick, what was your initial impression? You finally jumped on the grenade and you watched a playthrough to actually see what was happening in this.
My God, was that worthwhile but depressing. I mean, every step of the journey, you just fall in love with these characters, and then it's tragic. But it's so well done. And not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but there's a quote that perfectly describes it in the game.
Great, great. Yeah, I love that starting point. I think I will be actually take us from there to where this is a whole lot of joy. This, for me, was a really huge, huge thing for me. Obviously, the quality is high, but there's been films I've seen where the quality was high and that has made it even more depressing for me. But this, my first love was Baroque art and music. That was my first career. And the entire art of this, visual, music, story, is all that Baroque style of heavy contrast and intense emotions. But probably more importantly, was it's all about how things are temporary and we have to embrace that. And we've talked about a little bit that that's really important to me. So this is hitting a value that's really core to me. But like just concretely, my life, I've suffered a lot of loss. It started off, yep. And then later in life, another big chunk from it. And having enough time after that, though, I've seen how growing from that has given me all the things I really like about myself and all the strengths that I'm really proud of. So this, like you described, I think it starts off as really depressing, but I think as we talk about it, I think you're going to start seeing how it connects to things that are going to actually bring a ton of joy into your life. So we can get into that at the end.
Oh, it was thoroughly enjoyable, despite how depressing it was. Don't get me wrong, but wow, what a roller coaster doesn't even feel like the right word. It's more like going down into a subway that just keeps getting deeper.
Yes, yes, yes. I think we might have to do this as a multi-parter to kick all of the depth that has in it, but we're going to get the good top level stuff today. Just give me a little summary. What is this about? And what were your, like, a little more about your thoughts on it?
So, the game is taking place in a world where there is a paintress far off in the distance who keeps writing a number, and every year it gets one number lower. And everyone who is either at that age, or is it right at that age where they disappear?
Yep.
They turn into flowers. I forget the French name that they gave for that.
The
But
gommage.
the gommage, yes, how could I forget? And so they send out these expeditions every year to try and get further and further to stopping this from happening. And it sets you in this world, makes you fall in love with some of the characters, and then immediately you watch their loved ones die. And then they go out on this expedition to try and stop that from happening. In my head, I'm already like, okay, there's good motivation. We have this fantastic world to explore. They land on the beach in that far off distance to go and get closer to that paintress. And immediately everyone dies again. And this is almost a running theme, but
Everybody dies.
oh my word, yes, everyone does. Uh, it's so well done though because it, for as much as it keeps beating up the characters and beats you up emotionally, it just gives you more and more motivation to continue going. It's not making it just go, well, that sucked. I don't want to do this anymore. It's fully motivating you. It's just adding fuel to the fire every time.
Yeah, it feels not depressing. It feels mournful, where it's sad, but that gives you more determination, more motivation, which I feel being active at least has some sort of feeling of life to it.
So, one of the things I wanted to just briefly talk about from the intro, because I don't remember, or I don't know how well you remember it, they literally recognized that this is a lot of death happening at once. This is very traumatic. The audience is probably going to be feeling that too, but we're going to make our main character go through it to the point where he is so broken, he is holding a gun to his own head. But a voice comes out to him and tells him to keep going on. If you die, we all die. And what a way of talking to the player through the world building, through the storytelling, and telling them, if you stop, everything dies. It's not worth it. Keep going for the story. Keep us here.
Interesting. I knew this was going to be great to have your writer background in there, because it felt like it was serving a purpose, but kind of missing something. And you filled in that question for me. Speaking to the audience as, this is going to get dark, but don't bail. Otherwise, nothing is going to happen.
It's one of those moments where it's motivating not only your main character at that time, but it is motivating your audience, your player, to keep pushing through as well. Because it is dark and depressing, literally watching a massacre of all these people that are supposed to be your friend.
Yeah. Let's make this a one point we get into before we talk about the how it was made. But that was definitely the writing point that I had the most questions about, where if you start off really dark and okay, we're here just going to watch everyone we know in our village die because they turned a year older. You're saying goodbye to your girlfriend, all this stuff. It starts off dark. Oh, well, then we're going to go to a really big happy thing. We only make it really depressing, so you have a large contrast. The woman only punches the guy in the first act because, she's going to fall wildly in love with him at the end. We do it in everything, but especially in Bro. But when I was doing my live stream of this, this doesn't add up. You go from everybody dies, okay, well, we leave and we go to the beach. No, everyone died there too. Like, okay, well, now things are like, okay, now the guy's going to do suicide. It just gets darker and darker to the point I was actually wondering, have we got to the emotional burnout yet? Because if you stay on one note so long, it goes from interesting to no more motion to annoying. And then finally after that, it finally got happy after that.
I think it was a great use of subverting expectation, because you do expect that contrast. You expect, all right, we just had this really powerful emotional moment of watching all these people die. And now we have our purpose. This is our John Wick moment. They just killed our dog, who was our girlfriend in this case. Let's go get them. And then you get to the beach. You've got all of these men ready to go. And you see an old man walk out and just slaughter them all without breaking a sweat. And it looks like it's out of a World War II movie, Saving Private Ryan Beach, storming Normandy. And it's bloody, it's gruesome. You're going, holy shit. This game's not going to pull any punches. I don't know what to expect them to do next.
Yeah. I'm making notes here because you're making an amazing point I want to connect to at the very end. But the overall thing is, I think this exactly highlights why I'm going to want to discuss this in more than one episode, because that, maybe what we're describing, is part of some genre of 18th century French literature that I'm not familiar with, where a level of darkness that we're not used to in the culture that we grew up in. But maybe that was like a expected thing if I was living in Burgundy or something.
I mean, I could definitely see that having some connection to French literature, especially knowing how bloody their history is with the French Revolution. It's quite possible that their literature after that kind of reflected that violence.
Yeah. So that's so much we could dive into too after I get some more research and learn even more. This is gonna be cool, dude. So getting to the fun before we get into the intellectual. So many good lines in this game. I wanted a quick run through and go. We're gonna start with my list, and I'm gonna give you. I have a couple that I thought were really good, and every time you're gonna go to, just tell me which one's better, and then we'll find the best of my favorites, and we'll do the same with you.
Okay.
So starting off, this one I liked a lot, even though it wasn't used very often. The Sword of Lumiere.
I do like that phrase because sword implies that you're cutting away at something, you're attacking, you're going after, but it's also kind of a piercing weapon, and that's what they're trying to do is pierce forward, move forward. That's the whole theme of this game is keep moving forward.
It gave a really strong feeling of motivation for me where the first time it's used, it's right when they're going to leave and things have already been kind of depressing. And it's this pretty powerful feeling that you're going to keep pushing hard because of everybody in the world depending on you for it. And the second time it's used is when they come back to Lumiere after it's completely just annihilated. And it's that reminder of, even now, we still fight to our last breath for this place. And fighting for it when it was even less beautiful, that felt powerful to me.
I like that. Yeah, that's secondary use after the city's kind of falling to a attack of essentially a god. Let's call him what he is.
Yeah.
Renoir. That's very powerful. I didn't think about it in that secondary use.
Okay, so going on to the next one, just tell me, is this one better or worse than the Sword of Lumiere, the current champion? For those who come after.
Oh, yeah. I love the for those who come after. That is a big one because I didn't get to see too much of them in my playthrough, or the playthrough I watched, excuse me. But the previous expeditions all have left these journals and have left like footholds in mountains and things like that that allow you to continue traversing and know what you're getting into. It's all for here's to help guide the next expedition so we can get a little bit further.
Yeah. That felt like a strong cornerstone where even if we don't beat it all, even if we die, we still had a very meaningful reason to fight. What it did matter because we're just paving the path a little bit more. And they do a good job of show, not tell. So throughout the actual battles that you go through, the stuff that's cut out of the cinematic version you saw, they slowly start building other things there. And one thing is that's Gustav's main attack yell. There's different degrees. The voice acting adds so much to it, but his maximum one is just like I will freaking die just to push us further. So that got baked into my head a whole lot. Okay, so that one's the current leader.
Yep.
Next, when one falls, we continue.
Oh, that was one of mine. Yep. That oath. When one falls, we continue. And let's just talk about it because it's in mine too. I had, when I think it was June, saying, it's not if one falls, it's when one falls, we continue. Yeah. And just that distinction of every word matters that gives it so much power.
Such a level of maturity that I don't get in most of my art, and I enjoyed so much.
I always love this when a piece of writing is so specific and even its characters and everything are aware of it to the point where they point it out and tell you, Yes, every word of this matters. It's not if, it's when. When
Yes.
one falls, we continue.
100% right on that. Every word mattered. When we get into the how section of how they made this, just the level of work they put into the writings paid off so much. For that one, I also think this is the one that starts tipping over. This is a very, dark story, but I think experiencing this actually leaves you with more wisdom than you had before. You actually learn not just words, but you learn emotionally from this, which will make you have a happier life after experiencing this intense story. And that's summed up really well in When One Falls, We Continue. So do you think that's the current winner, or are we going to keep For Those Who Come After?
Oh, that is a tough one. I gotta go with their oath. When one falls.
Yes. All right. Next one. Subtle. Feel there's more in this than we realize. Tomorrow Comes.
I'm trying to remember when they said that. I recognize that. I feel like they said that a few times.
It got said an awful lot during the constant heartbeat of the battle and the collecting of materials. And it's this kind of constant reminder of, we are dead already. So don't hold back on anything.
I had never took it that way. I always heard tomorrow comes as a, no matter what happens, tomorrow's going to come. Even if I'm dead, tomorrow's going to come, and the next expedition, they can continue.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. It's that whole thing of, even if I don't make it, we're passing it on to someone else. But both explanations give it that relentless feeling that we are not going to stop.
Yeah, what good lines.
Yeah. It's like a stool where this is supported by so many different elements. If just that line was written this well, I don't know if it would have had even a tenth of the power of having the great voice acting that gave so many different definitions to this one phrase.
I think it's really due to some of the background writing that they did for this. It makes it feel like this is, yes, there's been a good 70 other expeditions that have happened already, and we've gotten these phrases over years and generations of, this is what inspires us. This is the propaganda that has actually worked and stayed with us.
Okay, so tomorrow's comes. Keep, trade. What are you gonna do?
I gotta say, I have to keep the oath again. When one falls, it's just, that one's powerful to me.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So my last one, number 5. My, what lovely feet.
Oh, one of my favorite characters in the whole game right there.
God bless Monoko.
Oh, God. Talk about just subverting expectations at every corner and dry humor and such a good welcome addition to your party.
It made it fit, though. So much of breaking it up with humor ends up subverting, just destroying. But this was, no, we're not subverting by destroying it. It's supporting it, just in a way you never expected. It fits so good.
He fits in for the fact that it's already shown you this bizarre world full of gestrels and SK, and then you meet Monoko, and he's a little more serious and a little bit more in line with the other characters in your party in that he's a fighter, he's serious, he's a little sad at times, but he's still ridiculous, just like a gestrel and just like everything that's from that part of the world.
It's I don't think it's ever directly said, but it's neat because that itself tells you a story because of how much time he has spent with Verso. They indirectly say all the time, I'm spending too much time with humans. And it's because of that, of why he acts more human than the other Jestrels do. And they don't have to like spell it out for you, but it says, oh, you two are really good friends.
Yeah, there is parts where he mentions how many times they've failed and things like that. So you know he's seen some of these horrors and some of the bloodshed. So that's probably affected him mentally. I haven't even thought about that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get to your list.
Well, I gotta start it off the same way.
Yeah, buddy.
Not now, son. Dad's busy beating up strangers.
The last line makes it so much better.
Oh, God. And knowing that Noko is no pushover either, and that he can get this big form and beat up some other, no, not Chesterils, what's the word? Some of the monsters in the world. And then for Monoko to just go, yeah, son, not now. I gotta beat up some strangers. It just shows you, oh, if I thought this little one had some power to him, this guy's gonna hit hard. And then he proceeds to hit himself in the back of the head with a bell.
It's within maybe 5 seconds, you are told so much about the character that it makes you wonder how, on one hand, how many hours did they spend revising that line to be able to have so much in it while still feeling natural and fun? Or is it the Picasso method where they just did it drunk on a Friday night because they had a lifetime of training their skills to be able to do it this well? Because you have, son, okay, I'm stronger than you are. We have a close family bond. You've already told me 3 paragraphs worth of stuff right there. And then you end like strangers. Oh, you really do not give a shit who you're fighting. You just like fighting anyone. Like that last word did not need to be there.
It's not intruders. It's not these threats. It's not anything. It's just strangers. I have no reason to fight you, but I don't know who you are, so I'm going to fight you.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Okay, let's hold on to that as for your list, number 1 for now. What do you got next?
There's a part after the Colosseum where Mai says, it really just felt like beating up old people. And then the new character who's introduced, whose name escapes me, am I one of those old people? And Gustav finishes with, someday, I hope.
Ah, man. Yeah, I hate it. I'm going to have to rewatch this a third freaking time. It's so freaking good.
God, just the emotion of, well, that was easy from the young child to this new person comedically going, am I one of those old people? And then Gustav in his regular depressing fashion going, someday I hope. I want you to grow old. This is why we're doing this.
It felt serious, but not depressing to me. It felt that whole heart of the team where it's serious but hopeful. You know?
It's still this one moment where the whole team is kind of happy, celebrating, we did it. Even the woman that you just beat is excited to see you and joking with you. And Gustav's still just somber, knowing what is at stake. He's always been that contrast.
Yeah. I in general, I would say Gustav was the true leader. Obviously, they wanted it that way, but they tried to keep on saying that Lune was the one in charge. But she had the drive and the organization, but it was just kind of repressed form of it. And since Gustav was really just rooted in what his actual feelings were, it for me, it felt more of a sincere leadership. Yeah, I'm the serious one, but I'm serious because this matters. We're going to do it. And there's no jokes about why it was or lies about why it is. It's, sincerity. Anyway, someday I hope. Frick, I like that line, dude. I have to go with that one. I like it better. I'm sorry.
No worries. I started with the Minoko line because I knew it was going to be quickly replaced.
What do you got for me next?
We're going to do a contrast of Gustav, and after beating the arena, you get the password to get the gestural out of the way so you can get the new secret uh, shortcut or whatever. And he goes up to this big gestural, and he's been told you have to yell as loud as you can the password to get this gestural to move aside. And the password is, "Get out of my way!" And he yells it as loud as he can, and it's this clear release of, God, I've had this anger built up. It feels good to say that. And then the jester goes, okay, you didn't have to shout. They never even told me what the password was. And Gustav starts apologizing, and no, I was told that's what the password was. And I think it was Mai tells him, it's a gestural. They'll forget about it in a minute. And even hearing that, Gustav still is just like, I'm sorry, and then walks away.
It started this arc where you have that, and then you go to the cave with Esquier, and then the long journey next door to fight Francois, who can't move. And this, I think, is what I liked about the humor in it. It was the lighthearted point, and it was humorous, but it never felt making the stakes feel irrelevant or that they were not taking it serious. It's just there was something funny that happened on the way.
So what I liked about it is the start of the character growth for Gustav, of embracing this crazy world, finding some joy. He got to release some emotion, and now he gets to Esque. He's confused. Francois, do you have rocks for eyes? Clearly you have rocks for brains. And he's just sitting there stunned, like looking back and forth at his comrades going, are we actually doing this? What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
And it starts to get him more lighthearted. He stops being so somber. Just in time for it to get somber and dark again and pull out your heartstrings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have a real strong point there where you need to release some emotion before you have the room inside your brain and heart to be able to start growing and moving forward. That's, I feel, is another one of the big takeaways from all the lessons in this whole story.
Such a good part.
Man, this is fun. You're bringing me back to the beginning of the game. Let's keep going. So I love that one, but I still prefer Someday Maybe. What do you get next? All right, how many do you have total? So walk me through
Let's see, I've got. We kind of talked about that one. Got two more, but there was a third one I just had in my head, and now it's escaping me.
Okay, well, 2 or 3. Let's see what happens.
Yep. So after that, we're going to go back to Somber Gustav at the very beginning. Right after he held a gun to his own head, and he's having that argument about that oath that I loved from your quotes.
Mm-hmm.
And June tells him that quote. We keep moving, we keep going. And she questions him, do you still believe that? Do you believe those words? Do you still believe in your oath? She asked the question like 3-4 times.
Mm.
And Gustav just quietly says, I hope I do.
That one still sticks with me because I feel something in it, but I don't understand what it is.
You are seeing a man broken, and to the point where he doesn't know what he believes in anymore. He doesn't know if it's all worth it. How can it be worth it if instead of just going peacefully, I'm watching my friends get dismembered and brutally dying?
It's also the moment where he has the mirror of Mael, where he's, yes, let's do this, let's make these sacrifices. But then he gets woke up to the fact, anything but Mael. She's the one thing I will not sacrifice for the future.
Oh, she's missing at this point. She's not here. She's gone. He has no idea if she's still alive.
But he's basically being told, you have to either give up on her in order to fight the mission, or if you go chase after her, then you're abandoning the mission. Which one are you
That comes
choose?
later.
Mm.
This is before that. Mael, in my opinion, is almost representation of Gustav's hope. And at this point, he doesn't know where she is, if she's still alive even.
They haven't seen the markings yet. Okay,
nope.
Yeah. Then why does he say I hope instead of I don't? Why is the fact he's not sure if he does or not more significant than saying yes or saying no?
Because it shows how broken he is. It's not a clear, no, I don't believe in this anymore. This is awful. We can't do this. It's not, yeah, we can still do this. Let's keep fighting. It's I have no idea if we can do this, if it's even worth it, if we should be trying to do it. I don't know what I believe in. How am I supposed to fight for something where I don't know?
So it's raw material, and he can start changing to a new Gustav from this point.
You're gonna have to build this man back up, and that is a powerful thing to do, especially at the beginning of your game, where you're having to build them back up to be that more powerful force again. Because they're not giving you the best weapons right out the gate.
Big contrast. All right, I like it. Moving on.
You know, I had to include it in here. When first meeting Monoko, he's approached by Verso and says, "We're going to Old Lumer." Okay, bye. There will be a lot of fighting, though. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, there will be. All right, I'm in. Good. Yes, good. And it's just so dry. It's so quick. It doesn't give you time to even think before the next person's talking. They're just going back and forth. Oh, it's so well done. And I don't think the voice or the lines would be nearly as good if the voice actors were trying to be funny at all. This feels very much like just robots delivering a line of, "There will be a lot of fighting, though." Oh yeah, that's true. All right, I'm in. There's no emotion. And for something that's so emotional, where he was immediately going to turn his back and walk away from them, to be no emotion, all right, I'm in. It really shows that he's not human, but then you see contrast where he's begging for forgiveness, and I thought it would look cool. That's why I did that. I'm so sorry. And it's just, what an interesting character to try and wrap your head around.
Yeah. It held attention so much because he was relatable in some ways, but still alien enough to be trying to figure him out. I'd say you get good multiple quotes out of that whole scene right there. My favorite's actually just "Okay, bye."
Yeah, the "Okay, bye" and then turn around is so good. I love that. You're introduced to this character. He asks if you guys want to fight after calling you strangers, smacks himself in the back of the head with a bell, and then just says, "All right, I'm out. I don't want any part of this," and just wants to walk away.
I want to zoom in on this moment because it seems important. "Okay, bye" is so funny to me, but it does not damage the feeling, the tone of seriousness and urgency at all. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely, because he's not trying to stop you. He's not trying to talk you out of it. You know what's at stake. He just goes, "I'm not going to do that again."
So what would you label that type of humor?
I'd say it's almost that dry British style humor of Monty Python, like we were talking Was that just last episode we recorded?
Yeah.
And it's more that dry style where it's just effortlessly funny because it's not trying to be funny.
Okay, I hate to break it to you, but between someday I hope so, I'm going with okay bye.
I did there was two other ones I wanted to say that I just remembered.
Go for it. I'm having fun, man. These are good.
How about a little bit of that old Verso magic? You mean the kind that hurts like hell? The kind that hurts like hell.
Yeah. It's almost like...
Come on. It's just funny. Again, it shows how long they've been friends for. Shows that he knows exactly what Verso is capable of. And has seen it firsthand enough times and knows how painful it is, but still finds it humorous.
This example, it's almost difficult to separate Verso's line from Monoko's line. It's like they're so close that you have to have those lines together to be one single line, which is cool in itself.
Oh, I don't think just two people trying to do that scene in real time could ever get the timing exactly right. I think having two people record lines and then just tweaking it ever so slightly so it's just barely off is the only way you can get that to be as perfect as it is.
I'm going to say right now that the relationship between Verso and Monoko served such a powerful, vital counterpoint in the story. I think we're going to have another episode to be able to even touch that one, but just respect what it is.
If we do that episode, I'd like to also throw in SK, as that's another one of the old friends.
Yeah. Okay, you had another one?
This one actually is from SK.
Okay.
And I mentioned it at the beginning. Isn't it better to have lost a rock than not have had one at all?
Yeah, man.
Which, coming from the silliest character in the game, who's literally a bag of wine that is one of the strongest characters in the world and as old as this world is. For it to be such a emotional line, and you know how much his rocks mean to him and what they allow him to do, it's so well done, and it's such a theme of the game.
It is right there. And it's interesting because you hear the theme so many times from so many different people in so many different ways where it seems like it just gets repetitious or boring. Somehow there's so much backstory in what SKA is and what's happened up to then that when he says it, it gets through to you deeper.
One thing this game really seems to excel at is when it introduces you a new character, it slowly gives you enough of their background so you understand their character a little bit more. And then they tell you that theme in their own words in a way that only makes sense to their character.
Yeah. We'll get into this in the third segment, but I think one of the masterpieces of this is a theme is loss. How do you move on from it? And I've heard so many people give you answers. I spent a lot of my life on that. And it doesn't really move the needle much. But having it just shown how so many different people have solved this in different ways is so much more powerful than just, here is the one way, go ahead and do this. But we can have time to get into that more. I wanted to bring, you're making me think there's another line that I love to death. In the final battle, they've already merged from first stage with the Paintress to the second stage of the Paintress. So much is happening with maximum stakes in split seconds. And then they're stuck. Oh my gosh, we're going to get crushed. And Verso just reaches in, pulls out, yells at SKA, says, "Hey, look what I found," and throw it at him. And everybody's like, what the? There's no time to process. Immediately they have to go to not die. And the delivery of the line, I couldn't do as well he did. But it's funny but a huge amount of character revelation. That is a massive plot point that has implications for the next hour, but there's no time to think about it. So it just gets sucked into the back of your head and no one has any thoughts on it.
Oh, man. That look what I've got and pulls out a rock is in any other story would make no sense. But for SK and what you've built up, and literally from the very beginning, you're told, I need my rock. It lets me do things. And even there's a quote, I think Gustav says, let me get this straight. So he's the most powerful creature in this world. And one of the other party members just goes, yeah, but he's also lazy.
The plot thing there is it's the only rock they needed. Because Verso has that, they don't need the swimming rock, they don't need the barrier rock. You know, with that, they could have just flown straight to the end. Gustav didn't need to die. None of this needed to happen at all. And everybody realizes that in a split second when there's no time to do anything about it.
I didn't even think about that implication. That's interesting.
There's a level of the game that we'll come back to when we have clips, but you start to dive into these deep connections that you have to build in the camps in order to unlock their final attacks. And discussing that right there is one of the main things you have to do. And it's something we'll save for later, but just think about that for a bit. So I'm going to, from all of these quotes we have, which one do you think is your favorite? My side and your side. What's the number one winner?
It's either got to be their oath of when one falls, we continue, or for me, the someday I hope.
Yeah. Oh, you're an optimist too. I like the oath. It's so much more of not here's what's wrong or here what I wish. It's flat out here is what our solution is. And that feels great.
It's also something that happens multiple times in the game. One falls, we continue. The very beginning, everyone dies. Right after that, everyone dies. Gustav, we continue. The two women die. We continue. We get them back.
It never stops. Everywhere you're living in a cemetery, listening to funeral music the whole time. You find like this is where that party died. Okay, well that gives us one step further to go, but that's sad. Most of it's written in French, so you don't really notice it. But the closer you get to the end, the music starts evolving to use English more and more. Because there's a theme that as you go from the beginning of the game to the end of the game, the cracks in the universe start getting more visible. And you start seeing what's really happening. And one of the things is the music starts being more in English. And again, you're going to miss this in the cuts. But the overworld music, when you get to the end and you can fly, it's a version where you're going on these long trips. Like this entire world is just singing a funeral song about Verso, which is what's going on. He's sitting right here. This is kind of fucked up and also very depressing. And then as it goes on further and you start getting more of the English in it, it's like, okay, this is both depressing and really suspicious. Let's move on to the how this was made. Clearly, we got a chance to chat about, man, there's some fun in this and some depth in it. Grateful it existed, but how it created is just as fascinating. And obviously, that's going to be productive for us because we want to keep improving our craft. You know, the bullet point summary, this came out of nowhere. It was made by a very small team who have never done a video game before in France. Not a lot of funding, not part of any big company, no major funding. And they made it really solidly not, oh, we want to have a theme about Japan, so we're going to write about Japan. Like, no, it was a French dude who struggles with English. All of his people were French. Towards the very end, they started hiring other people to help out. And everyone was, so how much French are you going to learn? And when will you move here? So the game was made in France, even by the people who weren't native French people.
That's wild commitment. I cannot imagine.
And I think that's its power. And this affects us a lot with what we create, where the reason why I don't think this is going to be the best game of the year. I think this might be the best game of the decade. And for me, I don't know if I will ever see a work of art from the Baroque period till the day I die better than this. And it's because of that polarization. Instead of trying to satisfy the needs of an entire of everyone in the world, because when a game gets made, one of the first questions they ask is, how can we get the China market? That's billions of people, billions and billions of dollars. We have to do something in it to at least appeal to them. And they go, okay, how can we, make people happy and comfortable with minority representation? And then there's these topics that people are really sensitive. We can't have those. And there's a couple other things that we need to really add in. And it smooths out all the bumps of your art where it doesn't have as much of an edge as it would before. And because it was such a small team and they didn't have any corporate influence, we got this, which is so much beyond the level of what I expected good could be in a video game.
What you're describing is very reminiscent of how I describe Jack Daniels, of all things. I tell people, to me, Jack Daniels is very good at what they want to do. What they want to do and what I want them to do are two very different things. They want to make something that will take over the world, be in everyone's hand. And the way you do that is you offend as few people as possible. You make something that, in my opinion, is boring. What I want them to do is make something that's aggressive and in your face and different. But they never will, because they're going to do what they want to do. And they are very good at what they do. It's just not what I want them to. This is someone doing what we want them to do.
They also had the freedom to do what they wanted to see in the world and have a say in it instead of just what would make money.
Oh, well done. Hats off to them, true.
And this is where the fun's going to come into. So, we've talked before about polarization is power in art. But in this, there's a new tier where I call it inmates running the asylum. These people were so in love with what they were doing. The three different parts, writing, visuals, and music, each part of it were people just in love with it, like a madman obsessed with doing their thing. And they could only do that if they were allowed to be turned loose to be in charge of it. So first of all, I'm going to save the music for another episode because I want to prepare for that. But to give you an idea of how nuts this is, the guy, Laurent Testard, again, he's French. I don't think I've ever heard him speak any English at all. And I've been looking for interviews, man. A soundtrack for a movie, you get a CD. It's like hour and a half or so. You got songs for little things. He wrote 8 hours of music for this game. And all of it is like, what the heck? How did you make it this good? It hit me in the face, the whole inmates running the silent part on the music. When I was sitting down, like I wanted to make a video. I think it would be cool to do virtual hiking. I've seen a lot of these. When I'm working, I'll have on another screen a train running through Norway, and it's playing some music in the background. So I have a visual to look at as well as something to listen to. And the visuals are so beautiful in this game. I figure I'll just walk slowly through each level, and then I'll have the music play on a loop for an hour, and that'd be a nice little upload. I could do, one of those for each of the 12 levels. Yeah, that's kind of neat. Low effort. I think it'll have some use for a long time. Sit down to do it, and the music stops. And, oh, wait, what's going on? A different song starts. And then it happens again. I realized this motherfucker, he wrote 5 to 8 different songs for every single level. And you're watching, you realize there's no one level. Every level has multiple different terrains and variations on that visual theme and variations on that musical theme that, oh my God.
That is fantastic. It's amazing how well it works. I actually had gotten an ad saying you can buy the soundtrack on vinyl, and I clicked on it, and it was a crazy amount of money. Otherwise, I probably would have done it.
Yeah.
But it was like 8 to 10 vinyl discs, and it wasn't even the full soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah.
My word, just outstanding.
And I listened to a movie soundtrack. I love music a lot. This was what we'd study a lot when I was going to college. And most of it, like, oh, this is just either scratching on the walls or it's just filler music. But the soundtrack, every single song is a song that, it's amazing. It's amazing. So tearing my way from what used to be my home, the music, moving on to what is my new home and probably should have been in the beginning, the writing. So you have basically two primary people. I looked into this a lot. And the creator of the whole thing, his name is Guillaume Broche, like the bun. And he's the French guy who started all of this. He essentially wrote a first game, a first story. And then later he hired other people and they completely rewrote the whole thing from scratch to make this game. But he had created the themes that he wanted to be about this, people fading away and it's about like dealing with loss and set in this kind of tone. And then he hired, her name is Jennifer Svenberg Yi. And this is when things start going, say it with me, inmates running the asylum. Like, what would be the most insane version of letting somebody write as much as they wanted to that you could imagine, Ryan?
Picturing something like Game of Thrones where they get burnt out and stop writing halfway through.
I wonder how she's going to hold up continuing on with this. Basically, she took every single thing she'd ever written in all of her fiction she'd written her whole life, all of the journaling she'd written about her own life in her entire life, and wove all of that together to make this story. She literally put her entire life as an artist, not just someone who's hanging around, someone who's actively trying to refine this into this one story. I watched a bunch of interviews because she's the one who actually has fluent English, so she's in a lot of things. What happened is you might know that word. What they make for a movie where they have like the Bible so everybody can stay on track with the story and not make something else that's going to conflict.
Oh, where it's kind of like the lore dictionary for everything. There is a word, I do not know what it is.
Okay, we'll call it the dictionary. And she went to make that, and hers popped out to be 200 pages long. She chopped it down to 80 pages to be able to distribute to like the sound crew, the composer, the actors, everybody else. And half her job became fighting with them to get them to actually read enough of it to know what they needed to do for their thing. Basically, does this mean the same thing to you that it does to me? What she did is she went the Tolkien route.
She made a whole world and then only showed you glimpses of it.
Yes. And that's why everything feels so deep. That's why there's so many layers to everything. That's why every word feels like it echoes a paragraph, because it does. She wrote 3 generations back. It wasn't just a backstory. Tolkien wrote encyclopedias and histories for.
He made his own language. It's insane.
And Jennifer, you talk about Gustav. She wrote about him. She wrote about everything that happened in his life since birth. She wrote about his parents, everything that happened in their life since birth. She wrote about his grandparents, everything that happened in their life since birth, which is why the whole backstory of the expeditions before feels so real, because she wrote all of their histories, and this is the 1 second of their life that you picked into, but she had the whole backstory.
What I love is when a game has this to any degree, let alone the crazy nth degree that this one does. but then they only show you glimpses of it through the world and telling you through the environment and everything. It has been a long time since I played any games, but one of my favorites has been Dark Souls. I don't know if you've ever played it, but it does the same type of storytelling, and there will be whole things that you'll never know unless you start reading the descriptions of every piece of armor and every weapon you pick up. And it will give you just a little fact that when you weave it all together tells you a bigger story, and you still don't know if it's right or not.
Fun feeling of mystery. That seems like a great fit. Yeah.
It's such a fun way of discovering things, but it's so hard to do it well. And even within Dark Souls, as they try to expand upon this and make it a bigger story, they relied too much on you reading things that you could easily miss. And they made it too convoluted, and it started to be like battling to get them to read that 80 pages is how you are now having them try and fight you, making you read things that you didn't really want to anymore. This game, I don't know how they did it so well.
Yeah, they nailed that feeling where you're opting in instead of being forced into it. And it felt like a mystery hunt where the more detail you looked into, I guess it's because they so nailed the show don't tell, where they describe bad writing as someone says, "Hello, you're my brother. It's great. I'm sad about this thing." And it's like, why are you directly on the nose everything? But they put so much background on this that if you took two people who were just in the middle of it that don't need to explain everything because each of them both know, it's just such a rich description of the world that you're able to put the context together. If you don't get it right then, maybe other pieces will fit into place that make you realize it later on, which is going to be our third segment today.
And even with all the pieces, you might not know. Like, it will tell you something, but you won't know the specifics of it. Like, there's one part where Gustav and Mai are talking, and he mentions how he's pretty sure the paperwork says that he's her parent or her guardian. And she says, well, I'm pretty sure the paperwork also says we're both dead now. And it's just one of those moments of, okay, so did he adopt her? It sounded like at one point he was also an orphan from the Gamage, so maybe he was brought up in the same spot and just kind of took her with him. What? We don't know. We just know they have background together and that he views her as his own. He cares for her that intensely. And that's all we need to know for the story. But it's so good at keeping it a mystery.
It's more intense emotionally when you're allowed to be the one who figures it out instead of having it told to you.
Oh, God, it's so much more investing, because then you're like, oh, I figured it out. I know what this is now. Versus just, oh, well, they told me that this is how it is, so this is how it is.
There's a weird phrase that I keep hearing in my head that if your woman can't tell you that you love her without you using the words, then maybe it's not enough. Because I come a very verbal family. So the fact that if I was able to just shut my mouth and people would still be able to feel what I feel about them, then you know you're actually doing it right.
I like that. I like that a lot.
In a lot of ways, you've taught me how to actually see the value of subtle emotions. And this game is demonstrating just how high the ceiling is on that style instead of the overly expressive versions I tend to. This hasn't just been fun. This has taught me so much.
I like it. I like this a lot.
Wrapping up this a little bit, getting to how they got the staff together. First of all, side note, just so important for me, that actress they have for Mael, her name is Jennifer English, and voice actors, they sound good. We'll put it that way. She is so freaking pretty. It is just paralyzing. I don't know what she's doing behind the camera, but also very talented as a voice actress. I want to ask you, putting the team together, I'm going to say, just for us, that the writer, Jennifer Svenberg, is the star. Supreme talent, put everything in there. How do you think that this team that cares so deeply about it acquired such a top level talent?
Oh. I really don't know. I feel like you just give them the story and they want to be a part of it. That's how I would go about it.
That sounds like you know what you're doing. So much of this, it feels like they hired the top tier, most expensive people from the whatever France's equivalent of Hollywood was. Everyone are nerds that they just found on the street. So Jennifer, they found her. He was just trolling through Reddit, and it wasn't even on a Reddit writing forum. It was on a voice acting forum, and she was starting to goof around with voice acting and said, "Hey, you're cool," and they became friends. And then she became the primary writer for him. Their composer, Lorien Testard, found him just on some SoundCloud posts he was making, which is the equivalent of, just a Facebook post, but for music people.
They found people who were passionate for what they wanted in the space they wanted them. That's absolutely perfect. And yeah, I would think to do the same thing. If we want to get a good writer, let's find someone who's excited and passionate, tell them the kind of story we want, and just let them run wild with it. And they're going to be so passionate, so excited. They're absolutely going to do it.
The passion matters a lot, but you do need to have the brass and tacks talent. If you had given me a major speaking coaching project 2 years ago, I would have been passionate about it and loved it, and I would have sucked at it. These people had massive skill. The realization that I got from this, similar story for their male vocalist I got. There is such high level of talent everywhere nowadays that you can get world-class talent off of an Upwork or a Reddit post or networking with some people off of X. And that's the thing that opened my mind that, yeah, you can filter a lot more for passion now. Some of these people in their interviews are so awkward. You can tell that they've basically never been on a podcast before. They are nobodies, but they have actual goddamn remarkable level of skill built up. It's cool how much that's out there and how much is still at a very affordable level. So if there's ever a project that you kind of feel, I need to take this up a notch, and you do have to spend some money, I didn't realize how high quality of a team you could put together for a low budget. I think that's going to be one of the biggest changes this game has on the world.
I'm just going to throw this out there. If you're making a sequel and you think that we're passionate about it, you can get in contact with us. I know we'd both be interested.
We got skills. We got talent.
Can do things.
I will sit there behind the camera as long as hanging out with Jennifer English. I will suffer through that.
I'll voice whatever you want me to. It doesn't even need to be something I'm good at. I'll do it.
Okay, so moving on. Well, let's get into the characters and scenes. I got a couple lists, and if you don't have a list, just pop in with other one. We can kind of take turns going back and forth. I want to just quickly point out that in the story, every character, like these grand warriors that are going to save the world, all artists. Hey, Wesley. Verso's a pianist. Lune's a guitarist.
Yeah.
Mael's a painter. Everybody's an artist.
What is Minoko?
I don't know if we want to deep into that. What do you think he is? Do we want to know?
Oh, I know. He is the art.
Yeah, that is very true. Very true.
That's what
That's one
sets
thing.
him and SK apart, is they both are the art and how powerful that original art is.
Mm. One thing I found interesting in the whole scenes is I'm not sure how many people who
Wesley,
make
come here.
content. Yeah, get the boy. I'm not sure how many people who make content about Expedition 33 don't give a shit about it, or just making videos because it's the popular topic right now. Because I see everybody fake crying about Gustav dying. And for me, like, I didn't actually feel a lot in that scene. It was a powerful scene, but sadness, no. When an hour later things have died down and they hold a funeral for Gustav, that one fucking got me. And it's interesting that that hit 10 times harder than the actual death scene did.
Yeah, that's, to me, that speaks more of your willingness to sacrifice and your want to be remembered.
Yeah, it was a heroic feeling.
Like, yeah, absolutely. I wish I could say I would happily do the same if one of my friends or someone I cared about like that was in trouble. I'd happily give it everything I have, knowing full well I'm not going to make it. And I wish I could be remembered and have a funeral and my friends there. That's something I think we all want. It's so well written.
Hmm. But did you feel any more? Did you feel that same or different about the funeral was more sad than the actual death, or one was more intense than the other?
I think the death scene had more at stake at that moment, so you couldn't be sad, which is in line with the characters. As
Hmm. Hmm.
distraught as Mai was in that moment, she can't just collapse and start crying. She has to run for her life now. And then
Hmm.
you have these moments of tension and anger, and then finally it gets to the point where now we can mourn and we can let that out.
I'm gonna rewatch it because I guess the death scene had to have so many other things in the plot moving forward that it wasn't just the only focus. And the funeral scene, it was so incredibly well written. That whole thing felt, it affected everybody, but Mael just focused in there. Such a massive transformation occurred to that character at that point. I was actually surprised that they didn't alter her game mechanics then, because her character story wise was so ruthlessly dedicated to the mission after that point that was a big point. It Man, in hindsight, it actually now that was critical because her becoming the most powerful force in the world didn't seem strange or surprising after that funeral because she was just freaking incensed.
I will say I am kind of surprised gameplay wise that they didn't give her Gustav's arm. Like, I was fully expecting her to get injured trying to go and get his body or something, lose her arm, and then grab his arm and
Hmm.
have it become her own and incorporate part of his gameplay mechanics into hers. I
All
was
right.
fully expecting that.
All right. You are so right. I'm looking forward to doing the second where I bring some more prepared materials.
Is that something that actually happens in like side content?
Near the end of the game, when she starts coming into her full power, during the game battles, which you haven't seen, she develops a new ability, which is one of her strongest, called Gustav's Memory. And she starts going from her rapier to charging up her left arm into Gustav's arm with lightning power, only it's charged with her colors, and annihilates people.
Oh, that's cool. I'm kind of sad we didn't get that moment in the story for literal growth of carry on the mission. I kind of wish we had gotten that, but I'm glad it exists.
It felt right because the whole show don't tell. They have times where you're just seeing it in the visuals. You're only seeing that in the battling, and we're never telling you that, but you know what that is, and you're piecing it together by because some of these things are so obtuse that it wouldn't work in a movie. But you have a long time sitting with it and like, oh, that's nice. I wonder what that is. Then 45 minutes, like, oh wait, that's what this is. And that was
Cool.
you had her bury his arm, the funeral, and then you have when they're fighting the Axions, and you have Cyrene's kind of showing them all the person that they would trade the mission away for just to be with again. And you see Gustav, and then they fight Renoir, and everybody, even Versa, was maybe we should talk a little bit, and she's like, "Fuck everybody, you're dead now," and that was a key point because that ruthlessness and not hesitating is what unlocked the next step of tearing the seams of the world that led to the plot happening.
That is interesting. Oh, I look forward to seeing more of what this game actually holds because already just this quick skim over the main points has been so enjoyable and so worth it.
Before I dive into the next scene, is there any that come to mind that you want to bring up?
I want to just bring up one part of the scene you just mentioned, where Gustav, actually, the part where Gustav dies. So Maï's still up on the cliff, Gustav is up on the cliff, and they get attacked by Renoir. And down at the bottom, floating in the water, is SK with the other two women. And one of them yells out, I remember this, SK, get us up there. And he says, I can't. And you had mentioned earlier that Versa was holding the stone that would let them fly.
Mm-hmm.
And he was there. There's so many ways he could have helped save Gustav in that moment, and he chose not to.
This might be a big nugget, but I think it's worth getting into this. What they make is as a major thing that happens later on, and it has some implications I wanted to ask you about anyway. They have a system gameplay-wise where after Verso joins the team, you start building your relationship connection with everybody. And you can't, as we've seen, a lot of emotion is what causes their higher level powers because you're living in artwork and you're actually not real. Nothing's real. And to unlock the most powerful thing in the game is Mael's ultimate power. You have to talk with her about that. You have to talk with her about letting Gustav die. It's an interesting idea that Jennifer wrote in there. Every single person, to reach their highest level of closeness, it's not just nicer. There has to be a fight. There has to be something where you are angry or disappointed at the other person, and somehow you manage to move on together despite that. And for me, that's mysterious because I never do that. I cut people out of my life. I've had enough betrayal in my life, and I've been a lot happier. Definitely had a lot more safety after doing that. But this kind of made me sit back and think, maybe there's something to it. So they have the time. They're sitting on top of the cliff, and they're getting closer and closer, and they feel, okay, I can finally ask you anything. And she says, so, with SK and you watching me to protect me, even when I didn't know it, all this time, why were you so late when Gustav was attacked? Couldn't have you saved him? And you had the choice of you could just, nah, I'm sorry, I couldn't have. Or like you tell her the truth, like, yeah, I let your brother and father die on purpose because I wanted him to die because I didn't think you would do what I needed you to do if you were having a good time here.
Yeah. I don't think I got to see that part, man. That's going to be heavy.
Story stuff aside, and I hope I'm not spoiling too much on that. But what do you think about that as a concept in real life? Like, is that how it actually works with humans?
I think if anyone was ever that honest, there would be a way to move past it. But I think most people are too afraid of consequence to actually sit down and have those conversations. When you find someone who's willing to do that and you're willing to listen, or vice versa, you get a more special relationship out of it.
Yeah. And that sounds trust and honesty, definitely. But the path to get there, it just seemed an uncrossable chasm. Thinking it over, the best explanation I could come up with, which still feels like a stretch, is just that we'll take it. It's easier to discuss it in non-real terms, in the fiction that's supposed to have an emotional impact. That has a bigger feeling of a journey where you must have come from a place where you weren't close enough that you could share those kind of things. And so the fact that you're at a point where you could tell somebody something that bad because you feel you still have a reasonable chance that you might be able to still be friends, or the other side that you figure you care about them so much that even if this means you don't get to have them around anymore, that you want to jump on that grenade for them and give them the truth now, because the way you feel about them is so different from how you felt about them before.
It's very, very difficult to have something where you have characters grow together in a way where there is stakes, where you could easily see them growing apart and becoming enemies, but doing it in a way where it's serious, but it feels like we can talk about this now because I trust you, you trust me, and I'm sorry. In that moment when we didn't know each other, I felt this was what was for the best.
That was to everything that. Let's think about that a little bit more, and then we can come back to that another day. There's a similar one for all the primary characters.
Yeah, I know there's some funny scenes that I've seen just clips of where I think it's June is taking a scientific approach to studying Verso and what he is.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems funny, but he slowly gets her to open up by saying, all right, I'll let you study me if you start opening up to me about who you are a little bit.
Yeah. It's a nice little addressing awareness of the uniqueness of that character, and that's always nice to see.
Wes, come here. What's out there? Sorry, I don't know what he's barking at.
He's a dog. Good job. Unless there's a specific scene that you bring up, how about we jump to the end?
Sounds good.
Walk me through it. You tell me what you saw, your impressions of it, and what your feelings about it are.
When you say ending, what part are you counting as the ending?
Mael versus her father.
That is a good scene, and that's one of the only fights I went through and found someone actually fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's so interesting watching that dynamic at play. And Mai is a very powerful character at this point, and even with her friends on the team, it's still a struggle, or at least it's meant to be. I'm sure there's ways to break it, where he's repeatedly beating you down with this move, and you get him to a sliver of health, and right at that moment, he chooses to do this big attack again where he's flying around, about to come through and hit you, and you're going, oh god, there's no way I'm going to beat this. I'm going to have to start all over again. And without you even doing anything, Mai just jumps up and says, not again, and stabs him down into the ground. And it's, in my opinion, that is such a powerful moment because it makes you feel like you have lost control of this character a little bit. You're happy that she's doing it, but it's, you have lost. This character is now just so powerful. They're acting on their own.
I didn't even think about that feeling of lost control, but that's exactly it, dude.
It's a beautiful moment, and I don't know if we want to get into too much of spoiler territory here, but that's not the real ending. There's more after it, where you have to choose a side, and it was pretty much after that moment where I'm not on Mai's side.
Yeah.
So for that loss of control and then leading into that is so well done.
Like, let's cover all of it. No worry about spoilers, but I want to split that in half. Where I found the whole Mael versus her father thing so interesting because the good ending results in everybody from the beginning to the end doing what their dad told them from the start.
I don't know that there is a good ending.
There's less bad, I guess, but I
don't know. I think they're both good endings. It's just from whose point of view. Who is the hero of the story in your mind?
Yeah, that's also true. It's still just a fun thought that the whole life arc of the actual Renoir, the real father, is you're all gonna die. I'm just gonna go every last ounce to my fingernails to stop you from killing yourself. Okay, I got everyone together. We stopped the mom. Mom's not gonna die. Now my daughter's doing the exact same thing. Fuck, I gotta do this again.
It's so interesting because he was the curator. He was helping save and protect her and train her. And he literally wouldn't let them leave until they proved that they were able to have some semblance of hope for survival in this world, because he didn't want to lose her and lose that ability to help protect the mom and her.
Mm-hmm.
But then he quickly realizes, what do you mean you're going to fight to save this world? You came in here to try and save your mom because you know what it's doing to her. And now you're going to make the same mistake.
Mm.
He doesn't view it from this is how fantastic the world is. These are the friends I've made here. This is all I've been through. Because to him, it's not been those years. He still knows it's not real. He had the memory the whole time. He never lived this second life. She has.
So why don't you tell me about the Mael versus Verso?
Oh, God. I did pick the one I watched first chose Mael. Personally, I wanted to go with Verso in that moment. I'm very glad I have seen both because I do believe that both are good endings. Verso is the one that I personally am more in line with because he wants to destroy the painting to protect his family, which is something the original and true Verso died trying to do. So it's very much in his character. It shows well, and it's protecting the people he cares about. Something I value. But Mai's ending is the same thing to a degree. It's protecting this world that she has lived in. And yes, she may die in a few days or weeks or however long she can be in that painting according to the rules of the mother, but that's years and years and years within the painting, as we've seen generations of the mom being there just this one time.
And that part sounds great. You know, you get to live a life that you chose and you get to be happy, and who's to say which is more of a significant life. But Verso doesn't want to be alive, and he's held there against his will just to like.
Don't know that it's necessarily he doesn't want to be alive. He just wants it to end because he knows it's not real and it's hurting people that are real to him. If there's a way to keep the painting alive but his mom and sister out of it, I think he would have done that, because I don't think he wanted to die. I don't think he wanted to end this world with Minako and SK and everyone in it, but he felt that was necessary to protect the ones he truly cared about.
You have a good point about him would like it still exists for everyone else to be in, but he made it clear that he wanted to stop existing. That was the superpower that allowed him to get through everything. There's one scene in the camp, which maybe you didn't see, where they start talking about, like, everyone here's lost something. Like, who have you lost? And it's like, like everybody that went on my first mission, if they didn't get slaughtered, the people who I knew back home, they all died of old age or the gourmage. And then the next one and the next one. And they go, okay, well, yeah, that's different than we can understand. But haven't you ever, had someone? I had a husband. Didn't you have a girlfriend or a wife? And he goes, yeah. Don't you miss her? He's like, I don't want to anymore. And he's just flat on, like, I have had a life. It's complete. So we have that scene with Cyrene, and they show Lune, her parents, and it shows Maël, Gustave, and it shows him. It's like, no, like, I loved her. She died. It was complete. I've mourned it. I don't want her back. I want this to stop. He wants to have his life end. So there again, subtle emotions. But at the end, when he's playing piano, he is not happy.
I don't think I had seen that part. That's interesting and puts a different spin on it.
Yeah, we'll get into more of the final segment. But that was one of the biggest things, where his actually letting go of the past and feeling he had a complete life was his superpower. Maybe he wasn't a paintress, but that was what let him get through all these things that would trap everyone else. That's why the last traps were all the emotional traps. He's like, I'm fine. There's nothing left. You can't stop me. Yeah, I'm done. I had my life. I'm ready to let go. And that highlights the power of appreciating things being temporary. The fact that you could let go was this massive superpower that you didn't see on the battlefield.
Interesting. I'm going to have to watch more of this. There's always more to this, is what we're learning.
Yes. I'm trying to save some of it for you. Just a little bit. I love the dialogue they had during the fight. They did these things with timing, where you have so many good arcs going so well at the same time that you had this feeling of it was overwhelming, and you couldn't quite peek into any details on it. And that it gave it another feeling that was really thrilling. Like when you're in the final fight with the paintress, and Versa just pulls out the rock and throws it, and you have this line of like, that is a huge ass reveal. We don't have time to think of this. You're sitting there and you're trying to fight her while Maël and Verso are yelling the most significant lines in the entire game. And like, I can't listen to you because I gotta dodge your shit.
I don't think I've seen the actual fight.
Oh, really?
I don't think that was included in the playthrough I watched. And when I looked up Verso's ending, it didn't show me it at all.
We'll have to dig it up. It is. Oh, it's a freaking masterpiece. That's what I was saying. Like, the true final battle of the game is such a huge. It's so well done because you have so much going on, all the stakes, and at the same time, you have the best voice acting, the most significant lines of the game. And okay, there's a couple of extra things I wanted to say about it, but I'll just save that for later then.
That's both disappointing and so inspiring that there's so much more out there, even within the main story, that I haven't seen yet.
Just like real people. Like my biggest thrill of finally learning how to listen. Sure, it's helped my videos better, but being able to see what more is going on in the people I care about it's great. So moving a little forward there, that was really great. The interviews they do on that, where they explain how many times they revised the dialogue for that and trying different things out, was just, man, you really put so much work into it, and it shows. I will say we're going to also come back in the future for the post-endgame content with Verso and Monoko. It's a little bit like a buddy cop movie.
I'm looking forward to this because you know who's my favorite. Let's be real.
Yeah. It adds so much more to the story. Now let's move into the next segment on show don't tell, non-verbal communication. There's a couple I just want to run through. You can let me know what you thought of them and other places that you saw that I missed. And first of all, we already touched on a little bit, was Lumiere. The whole plot of this is learning how to love things that are temporary. Even though it's not going to last forever, you still love it. And move on and heal from things that you've lost. In the beginning, Lumiere is fucked. Everything's just like blown into the air. Eiffel Tower is cracked in half. There's rubble everywhere. And you walk around and it's this sad thing of, there's not even anyone to sell flowers to anymore because so many of us have died. And it feels like, oh, we're starting off at rock bottom. You come back to Lumiere later and it's no one is alive at all. And the whole streets are completely destroyed and demolished. And it gives you this feeling of nostalgic missing. Of like, man, I miss the old Lumiere. The one that I thought was a complete shithole, torn. Like, that was great. I missed that. And it was never spoken. It was just shown to you visually. And that was a powerful feeling.
So what's interesting to me is I did not have that same impression of Lumiere at first. My mind was going, oh, this is a unique setting. The world's torn apart and things are floating and the Eiffel Tower is bent and melted in half. And there's enough people to try and sell flowers to. These are flowers that are alive. Someone's been keeping this alive. Where is everyone? What's going on? And then you get to the big reveal down at the kind of port dock area where they're saying goodbye to their loved ones and more are going away. And it's this feeling of, okay, there's a lot going on in this world. I want to know what caused it because there's markers that it's from our world, but it's not quite because we don't have this. It's teasing you with that mystery.
Yeah. That's definitely, the mystery was such a good feeling. That feeling of wonder. And the next part is I loved how just unspokenly they built the feeling of this world is unreal. Because at the beginning, like, okay, this is floating, but maybe it's just magic that makes sense within the realm of this system. Okay, we accept it. It's a movie. Go on. And then the first level, it's really organic. You get growing plants everywhere, and the monster Nevrons. They look freaky, but like, okay. And as slowly as you go through the game, everything from the gameplay to the visuals to the music start fraying at the edges more and more. This is unreal. Like, even within the mechanics of this world, this is not real. This is not happening. But it happens over such a long period of time that you don't quite... There's no point where it's just thrown in your face. For me, it was when you finally get up to the mountains near the end, and the ice is drawn in these straight line brush strokes. I'm like, this is a fucking painting. And I go, oh, this has always been a painting. But that slow buildup without words was so cool.
That is such a neat effect to be able to do that.
Did you have different tip-offs than I did?
You had told me that before, so I kind of knew to look for things a little bit. And there were a few hints along the way, but nothing major. And I kept waiting to see the reveal was almost just as good. Just going, okay, is this the part where we're climbing the mountain rocky side with SK? Is this where we're getting near where it's revealed that this is a painting? And do they break out of the painting? What happens once they realize it's a painting? Knowing that, but not knowing what comes next or when it happens was interesting point of view that I'm very glad I got to experience it that way.
Good. I'm glad I haven't ruined it too much for you.
No, it gave a whole new type of suspense to the game.
One complete opposite end, the physical acting was such a big deal in this game. I made a video about the nonverbal expression during the fight with Cyrite, where Versos, everyone's freaking out or like sad about their lost ones, and he just takes a step forward, like, I will kill you. And it's such a dramatic contrast. The scene with the Francois, the living rock, and he's like, what the crap do we do? He can't move. You brought that up yourself. All of that was made with freaking iPhones.
Get out.
Yeah. The software technology we have, because of AI, is so good. They take these, facing this direction, bolt it onto their head, and they do the scene, and it's good enough to create freaking photorealistic capture of their body and facial expression. I'm going to send you clips, and they look like idiots. Just it's like drama kids in second grade. And this is what they did. It works. It works so well.
That's ridiculous. That I can't tell if I love or hate that.
Just keep this in your back pocket. Top tier creation is getting more affordable by the day. The last thing I want to run by you is I loved the strong contrast. Maybe it was you who pointed it out to me, but Maëlle is the most colorful person in the entire expedition. She's got red hair. There's no blondes. There's no one else. Like, red is crazy color. She's got her outfit and everything. After she becomes her full self, her hair is white, her clothes are black. She becomes monochrome, black and white photograph.
I do like that contrast a lot. And what's almost interesting to me is Verso's hair. Because it's black but with a strip of white. He doesn't know the full power. He doesn't know the full extent of everything. But he knows enough to be powerful.
Yeah, he's a little bit touched. And it's felt like this fun continuum where you would have, by the end, Maëlle is just ridiculously more powerful. She's of God. And like, you have the other characters. They're still good. And then Verso, like, yeah, he's sort of halfway in between. He's kind of at a level. And another thing that just isn't going to happen in any video you'll find, but as you acquire outfits through the game, those also have a progression that have some sort of story meaning to it. And by the end, you have his hair white and his clothes are monochrome like hers. And it's kind of, you see this visual transition of, yeah, those two are kind of in their own world. Why doesn't anyone else look like those two?
Interesting. So what does the French outfit with the baguette symbolize in the game, Ethan?
Okay, I wanted to throw this at you. The Gourmage, very serious, very dark, depressing period. It reveals everyone in Lumiere are baguettes. The sound of the flowers coming off them, it's the sound of a baguette if you squish it.
No.
If you have ever pulled a baguette.
No, that can't be real.
It's the most crumbly food on earth. You will get crumbs everywhere just when you pull it out of the bag. The crumbs look like the petals coming off of the people when they die. They're baguettes crumbling.
No. No, it can't. You have just caused me mental anguish. That can't be true.
Maybe I'm wrong. Get a baguette, rewatch the Gourmage scene, see how different they feel to you. I love to hear a little follow-up.
I really hope that it was just happenstance they were like, we need a good sound effect for this person turning into roses and everything. And they're like, well, I got my lunch here. Let's just crumple that up into the microphone.
I don't have proof on any of this. This is my theory, but it's spot on, my friend.
You know what I'm hating about this theory? In the, I vaguely remember there's a scene where you're with your sister outside of the painting in a flashback. And I'm pretty sure while walking up to the painting, you see like paintings of Gestrels and SK. And I'm pretty sure there's a still life in there with a goddamn baguette.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. The most powerful force in the painting.
So you're telling me that baguettes are just a symbol for French people?
You know, I think we all knew this all along.
Oh, God. I can't tell if I love it as nationalism or if it's just ridiculous, and it's not putting a damper on the story, but it's making it less serious.
It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy.
That's true.
Right, so segment number 4, this is kind of the core. And this makes us more than just... When I was in music school, they'd tell us, how do you define art? And the best definition they gave us was, it's art if it means something different to everyone who sees it. Because it actually meant something to you. And this, the most important thing, was the power of temporary things. Most of my life has been trying to fight against that. The whole religion I was raised in was nothing has any meaning or value at all unless it's eternal and lasts forever. And learning that, you know, the most important things are the things that are temporary, and learning to value those. That's been the hardest lesson and the most beneficial one. That's, you know, I enjoy so much now. And some concrete examples. It's not all about death, okay? I think you actually can learn something and walk away from this game or watching the game and having a higher level of emotional intelligence on enjoying things that are temporary and moving on from loss. And it's not just, okay, I don't have any funerals, who cares? Like, I want to share 2 examples. When I finished all my studies in content creation and now it's time to start working on the business side, it felt a little sad. It was this saying goodbye to these people I was studying with. It was saying goodbye to this stage I really knew well and I was really enjoying. And I think if you remember back to your graduations from high school and college, most people, they felt a little sad then, even though it was a good thing. And this is another place, routine in our life, where if you have more mastery of appreciating things that are temporary, and like our hero Gustav, don't endlessly cling onto things that are trying to end, you'll have less suffering and you'll enjoy the good things in your life even more. It's a useful day-to-day skill to have what this game is teaching us.
I like that. That is a good skill to have, and I do remember back to graduations, and I was looking forward to the better things to come. Definitely there was sad times to say goodbye to some friends and things like that, but it was always with the idea of, next time I see you, I'm going to have so much to tell you about the things I've accomplished. It was never, I'm not going to see you again. It's never truly sad. It's, all right, you watch out. Next time there's going to be some good times.
That love of giving people space for them to grow. An opposite example I want to share before we get into the brass tacks details. A lot of times I would struggle with having bad hangovers, where I would go out with my friends and we'd have some good drinking, and it was a correct amount, no problem. But then I was home in this jazzed up mood of like, I don't want it to end. And then I would drink more at home. And that's what ended up being the difference between having a good time and feeling crap tomorrow. And sometimes not even remembering so much of what the good stuff we have. And how can you feel closer with someone if you don't remember what they told you? And
Wesley, Sorry.
That's exactly the same thing. It was another situation of, I'm having a great time. I don't want to let this end. And by trying to claw onto it, you turn into a great thing that made your relationship bond a little bit more, and a memory you're going to have a whole lot, and a great tomorrow you're going to have, because tomorrow comes, into you destroyed all three by not willing to be to let go of something that was good and just let it have been what it was. So I think this has both sides really big benefits. So if I've convinced you that this skill is worth developing, let's get into it.
You've convinced me.
All this stuff, I don't think telling people, here's how you solve it, here's how you move on, it doesn't work. How many times have we been told to make small pots? Still don't listen to them. There's things like this that are so big that they can only be taught by giving you the right questions. And they do this so beautifully by taking their time. Each character deals with this problem and solves this problem in a different way. And it's never directly spelled out, hey, CL represents this, and so you should do that. It's just shown, and you're able to figure out what parts of this make sense to you and what parts don't. So with good questions, you can make a custom answer that doesn't work for anyone else in the world, but works perfectly for you. So I would like to go through the characters and discuss how each of them grappled with this and came up with the answer to the core theme of Expedition 33.
All right. What all are we thinking for characters? Are we just doing the main cast?
Yeah, main cast. We don't have to get everything. I would just say, for example, I'm going to start off, correct me where I'm missing and tell me what you think, and then we'll go on with the other characters. But Gustav, I feel he's the true hero, whether he's in the game or not, because he nailed this the best. He starts off and he has to let go of Sophie. He doesn't go crying to the sky saying that we have to stop his. He doesn't try to lock her in a basement, or he doesn't try to do some kind of crazy last ditch. He knows it can't be stopped, and he accepts it. He enjoys what he can with her, and then he lets go. And there's one thing he can do something about, trying to save the city. And he just immediately, from one moment, goes, I'm completely dedicated to enjoying the moment. There's nothing more I can do. The moment's gone. I'm not going to sit here like be depressed in my apartment. Immediately, here's what I can do. Now I'm fully dedicated to that. Great. And then he gets towards the fight with Renoir, and he switches instantly back. He sees, we've done everything. There's no way I can survive this. Okay, it's time to let go. How can letting go be the best thing I can do? And he's like, okay, I'm going to focus on trying to sacrifice myself to save this one person. If there was a way to keep fighting, I would, but there isn't. And I'm not going to just be an idiot. And each point where this switches back and forth, he nails that. So I feel like he did the best on this in the whole game.
Yes and no. He's the best at letting go, but even he needs some motivation to keep going at times. Yes, he's good at letting Sophie go, but I feel like it's because he felt that he'd be joining her soon. Yes, he goes on this expedition and watches everyone die, and he gets up and keeps going, but it's because June reached out and reminded him of his oath. And then Mai finding her and trying to track her down and get her back alive. And then he almost, at one point, says, I'm going to bring Mai back to Lumiere. She shouldn't die out here.
Mm.
And they have to remind him that she took this oath too. She's out here with us.
That was a great point that you pointed out that I hadn't noticed before, that he still had to finish developing to become that person.
I'm so glad we got to see that emotional growth of a character and fall in love with them as this hero, just for them to be taken away is, God damn it, that's good.
Yeah. The more I look into his clips, the more I see there's so much. Anyway, let's move on. Tell me now about how you feel Maëlle handled this concept, wrestled with it, and what her solution was.
I think Mael was the concept of not letting go.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every single time she did not want to let go.
Mm.
Gustav, she was trapped in a bubble and wanted to keep going back for him and was telling him to run uh, to the funeral scene, to her having a breakdown from seeing so much death when Verso's walking them through a valley, to not wanting to let go of the painting as a whole. She is the concept of trying to fight to not let go of something, even if it's killing you.
Yep. Yeah. Completely agree with that. It's subtle, so I didn't notice at the beginning, but it stands out like a red knife. She's young. She is literally sacrificing her life. She's going to die just to not have to say goodbye to Gustav.
Yeah, she is.
So in the end, when she's just, I will rip everything apart just to not lose Verso, like, yeah, that tracks. This is still who you are. So in a lot of ways, I actually don't see her figuring this out. The whole time, her dad's yelling at her, giving her every opportunity to be educated or pushed or forced, and she just never, no, I will just ruin everything in my life and everyone else's life because I can't let go. So she doesn't learn this lesson. And I don't see like brutal consequences to happen, but it's kind of a little sad that she doesn't have that. She doesn't achieve that growth when it seems most everyone else did.
I'd argue and say that even Gustav, he was the right balance of both. There was
Mm.
times where he was pushed to not let go and keep fighting. I think that's what makes him the more interesting hero, is that he was the one who was doing both.
Mm.
Where Verso versus Mai, it's letting go versus fighting to hold on. And depending on which view you find to be more in line with you, you're going to think that one's right over the other.
Mm, mm, mm. That makes sense. Okay, now I want to do the two different Versos. So there's Verso and there's real Verso, the one who actually lived in the real world. The Verso in the painting, I feel he was kind of the counterpoint to Mael because he had, at least the way I read his character, had complete acceptance. You know, he had fought against it, railed against it, but just because he was allowed so much time, he was completely okay with letting go of everything. His whole motivation is like, I'm pushing everyone in the universe forward because I want to actively end this. And it wasn't, I'm just so miserable and I got to escape it. It's just, no, I'm done. I've had enough. It's complete. When he would talk about the people in his past, you could tell he was sad about it, but it wasn't this burning knife in him. It was, yeah, you know, I miss people, but I'm glad we had it. And it's time to just say it was enough.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. He definitely seems like he's not broken, but he's ready.
Ready. Yeah. Uh, so then real Verso. What do you think about him?
Again, he's kind of acceptance and willing to let go for the right reasons, because he did sacrifice himself for what he cared about, which, again, the painting Verso does the exact same thing. He's willing to sacrifice for his family.
Hmm.
Uh, he was willing to let go, and I believe he burned to death. Is that right?
Yeah.
Horrible way to die, and he faced it just fully willing because he knew it was what was best for those he cared for.
Mm-hmm. This is where I get into the point of unreliable narrator. I thought that, and now I'm not so sure. There's multiple times that the mother, the paintress, has talked about how much she resents him for going back and trying to save his sister and die. And then we start getting into the real Verso's character. You know what the word Verso means?
What's that?
It means the back. It means the hidden side. There were all those giant, huge axons that which are all created to represent one of the children. Which one was Verso's? The masks. There's a lot of, not directly because everybody's in love with him and happy and they don't want to say anything, but there's a strong undercurrent of the real Verso was a liar. And the way I read it, thinking of the second time, is if he had just let go, like everyone was yelling at him to do in the house, the family would have the father, the mother, the one daughter, and him. And now, because he sacrificed himself, which might not have been as much of a sacrifice as he just wanted to check out, they have Mael, who's only half a person. She barely wants to be alive. She can't see. She can't even talk. And they basically lost 1.5 people instead of losing one person if he had just been able to let go. But just like Mael, he can't let go, which is why his painted version took 100 years to finally learn how to be able to let go.
But even then, he's willing to give up himself in the painting and that entire world so that way this person who's a full person can go back to the real world and be half a person again. I don't think he's let go of them. He's just let go of himself, which the same thing holds true for the real Verso.
Letting go of yourself versus letting go of other people. Yeah, that's a good point. There's some optional content we'll get into another day that completely supports what you're saying, you know?
I'm glad I'm not completely off the mark then.
This is interesting. Okay, I would love to get into this with some other characters, but we'll save that for another day. And yeah, that was the main thing I wanted to cover. Were there any people that you thought were interesting to bring up?
I do kind of want to talk about Renoir and his motivation through all of this.
The painted one or the real one?
The real one.
Yeah.
Because he clearly cares about Mai from the very beginning as the curator, trying to protect her, keep her safe, even while trying to fight back against the mother and get her out of the painting to keep them safe. His whole thing is, I must protect my family. Even if that means beating the shit out of you in this painting, I have to do it to protect the real you. And even though it means causing immense emotional damage, rather than try and talk to you and get you to figure it out, I'm going to do it while swinging at you because you're going to figure it out before you get hurt.
So he's trying to force it instead of what would the alternative be?
Well, I can't say I blame him. If you saw a kid running into go play in traffic, I'm not going to just sit down and have a conversation. I'm going to grab them and yank their ass back. That's what he's doing. It's good parenting, but at the same time, these aren't little children. They're adults making these mistakes. You have to connect with them and tell them, yes, the painting will still be here. You can go back, you can spend some time here, but just remember to come back out and then you can keep going back and forth. Use it responsibly. But instead, they're not even trying to do that.
They feel like they had a lot of trying. They are using this as an analog for addiction, where it's like, okay, take your time with the painting, wife, and she just never could stop the addiction. And then with Mael, she's like, okay, she was out, okay, now she's in it, like, oh crap, now you're so addicted you'll never leave either. And how do you deal with that when someone you cares about won't listen to anything anyone says and is just so addicted to it that they're gonna die then,
Addiction is a good word for it. Yeah, that is a hard topic.
Okay. Before I get to the closing, is there anything that you took away from this that was useful? I mean, we don't have to get any more personal than you'd like to, but was there anything like, I recognize that, or I felt that way, or maybe this is something I'm going to add to my palette of tools?
I do really enjoy some of the writing for the characters, and I don't know how or when I'll use it, but Minoko's character especially just fascinates me with how it works. It's a character unlike anything I've ever seen, to where it's this witty, dry humor 99% of the time that doesn't feel human, but then he breaks completely and is crying and asking for help.
Mm.
And there's something so human about it from someone who's not human the rest of the time. Is such nice contrast, and it makes it stand out even more. I love it.
He's great in a way that I haven't really understood before, and I feel the game really wouldn't have worked without him. He adds something that was needed in this. There's so much to learn there. I'm excited to dig more, and anything you find out, please tell me.
Will do.
Okay, great stuff. I want to end with a little bit of a homework mystery.
Okay.
In the future, I want to come back with more visuals and be able to talk to like the deeper levels of this. But the first hint, the question I want to give for that, throughout the game, when you see the other small hints that are connecting up that finally connect the dots and make a big constellation in the sky, all of the real characters in the real world, the father, the mother, Clea, Mael, and Verso, they're unreliable narrators. The version that we're telling is like this perfect family that's just trying to reunite, and it's such a tragedy that they're lost, is not. How much do you trust the person telling you that that's true? Each one of the 5, you see growing clues of having a massive emotional problem before any of this ever happened. Piece together what you think the 5 might be for each of them.
Okay.
We'll talk about that next time.
I'm going to have to rewatch a few things.
Yeah. So this has been great.
Absolutely, it has. This is very enjoyable.
100% my wheelhouse. I love the ideas, but, I want to in the future to slice off just one part of the art and just talk about how we can learn from it and the beauty of it. This has been great.
Yes, it has. Thank you again for introducing me to this story and game.
And to everybody out there, I'm sorry this was episode 38. There's no forgiveness for that, but I'll have to let it go.
Are we calling this Expedition 38?
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll look up and see what those goofy guys were doing. We can use that our time. You're a genius, right? All right. Thanks, everybody.